Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Change. We have Old Thompson, introduced in 1904. No age statement, 80 proof, American whiskey, a blend. Bottled in Kentucky by Glenmore Distilleries. Owensboro, Kentucky, that's the Glenmore plant. Bardstown, Kentucky, that's Barton 1792 distillery. But anyway, Barton 1792 and Glenmore is both owned by Sazerac, so it doesn't really matter. No website listing. Let me check something on my notes here. Might have made a little boo-boo. No, I did not. Seagram 7 Crown, introduced in 1934. This is the new label design from about the last 2 years, I think 2018. It wears a crown because it is the king of American blended whiskey. American blended whiskey, 7 crowns. I don't know, it's like 7 candlesticks and a menorah, I guess. If you know the history of that company, it makes that would make sense. If you look at the history of the company from 1926, now it says since 1857. That's a little deceptive. This whiskey has not been produced since 1857. No, that's when Seagram's distilling company was started. The 7 Crown was introduced in 1934 at the end of when Prohibition had ended. So there's the ivory label, I guess you call it, with the gold crown, and it looks like black writing, but it's actually brown, very dark brown. Seagram's, it's very dark brown with the big red 7, but all of that is brown. Okay, Booze Review says, yay, another live stream. Yep, I was going to start at the exact bottom of the hour, but I wanted to go put the garbage out by the street because sometimes they show up this early. I mean, they usually will come around 6:30, but you never know. And then they've come at 5:15 before. Okay, and it's pretty full. Serving size 1.5 ounces, so an ounce and a half is a serving. Blended and bottled by the 7 Crown Distilling Company, Norwalk, Connecticut. But see, I don't think it's actually done in Connecticut. I just think that's the headquarters of Diageo USA. I think it's distilled, aged, and blended in Lawrenceville, Indiana at the old Seagram's distillery, which was no longer Seagram's after the year 2000. It's owned by Midwest Grain Products today. Seagram's went out of business in the year 2000. The name exists, but the company does not. I think it's bottled in Illinois at the old Seagram's plant in Illinois. I think there's a bottling plant. I was seeing one of these brands, and let's look this up for a moment. I want to look this up because I forgot to do it. It's DSP. Let's see if I can locate this. DSP 5. That would be Distilled Spirits Plant of Illinois, number 85. View information collection, reg, info, defense articles. No. Oh, here we go. Tax and Trade Bureau, spirits producer and bottler permit list. Oh, golly. Hold on just a moment. Let's see if I can find out where this is bottled and get this out done once and for all. Oh boy, I can't get it to open. So we'll have to do some research on that later. But I know there's a bottling plant in Illinois. This I know. Never, it kind of ruins it for me. Oh, I got very sick off of Seagram 7 about 9 years ago. It says Mohawk Indians, blood Indians never lie. So that kind of ruined it for me. I don't get me wrong. It's a good whiskey, but once I get sick of something, yeah, well, you know, shouldn't be drinking too much of these things. I once drank. Well, okay, well, I don't want to hear about excessive drinking, actually, not to be rude or to be ugly, but I don't see that as an achievement. I see that as probably a sign of a problem, you know. All right, so let's look at the Seagram 7 Crown. There is no website for Old Thompson, all right? You can read a sales sheet on, let's say you look up, it's starting to get daylight out here. If you look up Total Wine and More, there's a sales sheet, a write-up about it. And they're not writing this on their own. They get these little flyers, or it could be a email from the producer, and then they just copy it onto their page. You know, the distributor has those things. Seagram 7 Crown blended whiskey. And I bet if you read this, if you listen to this and then you read Total Wine, it'd be the same thing. An American icon with a rich heritage. A blended American whiskey, Seagram 7 Crown is carefully blended and aged in oak with its smooth, sweet taste and creamy vanilla finish. Seagram 7 Crown, Seagram 7 Crown, approachable and smooth taste. See, that's a poor English. It should say Seagram's 7 Crowns, apostrophe S, because it belongs to it. Approachable and smooth taste profile stands up against today's biggest shot brands. And its signature drink, the 7 and 7. And then they always talking about Seagram 7 and 7 Up. They even do collaboration advertisements on Facebook. Seagram 7 Crown Dark Honey. I've never tried that. The honey liqueur. Seagram 7 Crown Apple. I've never tried that dark liqueur. Get off of that page. Trisky Brisky. Are we getting hammered? Ronaldo Belfaldo. Cheers. No. Okay. I'm just tasting them. All right. So there, I have seen a 7 Crown. Now they're showing the honey and the apple, but I've seen it right there at Winn-Dixie. I know they've got it like caramel, and then there's a Seagram 7 Crown like spicy, like a Fireball type one. But you know how these liquor websites are? They'll show some of what they make, and then they'll show all of what they make. You say, well, maybe that stuff got discontinued, and the stores are just selling back stock. Now, that could be true too. Dark Lotus says, morning, dude. Morning to you. So you can get a lot of back stock of stuff that's been discontinued for years, as evidenced by the video I just posted 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. I posted a solo review. It's long, 20 minutes. You probably won't want to watch it. And if people don't watch it, I won't take offense. But I was really thinking, you know, when I was doing that video, I was thinking. So that whiskey hasn't been owned by Seagram since 1989. 1989 is when Seagram sold it to Sazerac, and then it just became Canadian Hunter. It used to be Seagram's, then they dropped the Seagrams off, and it was just Canadian Hunter. And I found a bottle, unopened, dusty, but at International Market. And they had more than one bottle. They have a few left. So that's telling me that bottle was at least 31 years old, and I got it. And it was $8.99. And I said, I wonder if it's going to taste a lot different than the current Canadian Hunter. Well, you'll have to watch the video to see. You say, you're just clickbaiting people. Right. I'm not actually clickbaiting people. I'm just saying, if you're interested, you watch it. If you're not interested, you probably wouldn't care either way what I said, on or off the air, right? Okay. Yeah, Canadian Hunter has a following. You may not be in that following. Now, does Seagram 7 Crown have a following? You better believe it. It's one of the top selling. It's the #1 selling blended whiskey in America, first of all. And it's one of the top 5, I think, selling whiskeys of any sort in America. Well, we know what the top are, right? Jack Daniels, Jim Beam. And for some reason, Fireball is listed in the top 4 or 5, but it's not really technically a whiskey. It's a whiskey liqueur, but all these websites list it. Of course, Crown Royal has got to be there. And then I think Seagram's, I know it's in the top 10 for sure, but it could be 5. It might have dropped to 7. No, my old granddad is pretty good too. Yeah. Seagram 7 is extremely harsh whiskey in terms of taste. I'd probably prefer Jim Beam, but I prefer Fleischmann's because it seems to have a better kick. But Jim Beam for whiskey is good. Canadian Club is also very harsh. I don't find that. Never tried the flavors. Neither me, says Jack Cottrell. I never have either. 7 Crowns, just a good old standby for me. Enjoy your J. Enjoy your J. Enjoy your day. Okay. All right. Here we go. I drank my first bottle of Seagram 7 Crown, but I had to go get some more because it's such a benchmark, right? You say benchmark, that's a bourbon. Yeah, but you know, Benchmark used to be made by Seagram's. It was a Seagram's brand from 1968 until Sazerac bought it in 89. They're both brown, same appearance. So appearance ain't gonna matter. Age. Well, neither one of them has an age statement. What does that tell you? That means that the straight whiskeys are at least, oh, I forgot to put the blend ratio in my notes. I gotta do that right now. That means each of these are aged at least 4 years. I don't mean the raw whiskey. There's raw grain spirits. Grain whiskey, raw, unaged, odorless, colorless, essentially. What you call moonshine. All right. Seagram 7 Crown is 75% grain alcohol and 25% straight whiskey. Probably one of the Diageo brands. You say, you mean like George Dickel or Bullet? I think Bullet is a Diageo brand. Yeah, one of those. It could be a blend of those. Let's see. Old Thompson is 20% straight whiskey and 80% grain spirits. Yeah, I got them well mixed. Could it be one of the Sazerac brands? Well, you know it is. Probably Ancient Age or Barton. Okay, I forgot to put this. 80-20 blend ratio. 80-20 blend ratio. 75-25 blend ratio. Okay, all right, got it. Save. I'll put my glasses on so I can read. Mohawk said, Canadian whiskey is extremely harsh in general. I don't find that at all. I prefer more smooth whiskeys. Bourbon seems to be more smooth than Canadian. Well, he said, you mean than Canadian. Well, I mean, it depends on who's drinking, I guess. I think Seagram 7 is a Canadian whiskey. I could be wrong. Oh, it's not a Canadian. No. It's Indiana. It's from Indiana mainly. It says American whiskey, but it's Indiana whiskey. Me thinks you need glasses. I have bad eyes, and the eye doctor asked me back in 1987 when I was only, a teenager. He says, "Do you read a lot, son?" Old man. I said, "Yes." He said, "That's why." He said, "All these people that read all the time, their eyes go back." I said, "Okay." Sorry, I wrote that right before you put them on. Yeah. All right, so here we go. I gotta take them off now because the glasses will be hitting the eyeglasses will be hitting the Diamore. These are nice snifters, Diamore snifters. Okay. Mix them up again. I don't know why I did that. All right. Anybody of any age, if you ask them, you ever heard of Seagrams? They're going to tell you, well, yeah, who hasn't heard of that? Like people that are 80 years old going to say, what are you talking about? We drink that in the 60s or the 50s. And when they were 18, because, you know, drinking age used to be 18 in Louisiana. All right, still ought to be. People that are in their 40s, they heard of Seagram 7 Crown, and people that's 21 now heard of Seagram 7 Crown, because if you go to any bar or liquor store in this country, you're going to find Seagram 7 Crown. It's ubiquitous. Cheers, Ron. Dawn Busters, says Dr. Frosty Brew. You're right. Now, here we go. I think Seagram's going to win. Now, remember, it's 25% straight whiskey, whereas Old Thompson's only 20% straight whiskey. So you get a higher percentage of straight whiskey in Seagram 7 Crown. And you're going to pay more for it. You want to play, you got to pay. Now, Seagram's, they have it on sale right now for $19.95 at Winn-Dixie for the big handle. I'm talking about no $750. We're talking about $1,750. So you get what I got right here plus $1,000 extra, and that's a bargain. Now, Old Thompson $7.99 for a liter, $1,000. But you can get a $1,750 for $13.99. So you can go to Total Wine and get liquor so cheap. And it's not even the cheapest. It's not even the cheapest, because I know where you can get 1,750 milliliter handle jug bottle of whiskey for $10.96. And that's at Walmart. And it's pretty good whiskey caliber. Ever had a Philadelphia whiskey before? I only had that a few times. It's hard to find. Yeah, no, I've never had it. I never saw it. I know about it. Philadelphia. It used to be a distillery there. Well, there's still one, but I think they mainly just blend and bottle. It's called Jacquin SE. But Jacquin's is not the people that made, they're not the people that made Philadelphia. It was a different company, and they went out of business, and Sazerac owns it now. But they don't make it in Philadelphia. Michael Komarov got a bottle, and he was telling me, we ought to review this one day. I said, you don't even drink whiskey. He said, I know, but I'll do it, you know, just because you got the bottle. What's he going to do with the bottle? It's just going to be sitting there forever. And then he had a bottle of Chivas Regal 86 proof, the old iteration of it. And he never even opened it. If I went to see him in Brooklyn, New York, I said, I'll buy that bottle from you. I mean, I wouldn't pay a lot, because some of these liquor stores around here, you might find a bottle from 1990. We have some, it's almost like liquor antique stores over here. You say a liquor antique store. I'm telling you, that's what it's like. Now, this one smells nutty, pleasant, mild, whiskey-ish. When I say whiskey, like vanilla, oak, all the things you think of when you think of bourbon. Corn, candy corn, oak, vanilla, and these things. But much milder. See, bourbon's going to have bourbon's got the full attack, because it's not blended, unless you get blended bourbon, in which case it is. Yeah, there is a such thing as blended bourbon. I am not, but it has to be at least 51%. You know what I mean? It's got to be 51% straight bourbon. What I'm dealing with right now is only 25 to 20, down to 20% straight bourbon. You see? All right, that tastes a lot like Jim Beam makes one. They make two. Well, they make more than two, but they make one that you see everywhere called Beam. Well, not everywhere, but a lot of where. Beam's 8 Star. That's their old bar bourbon, bar blended whiskey. Beam's 8 Star. Used to be 75-25, but they dropped it to 28, 80-20. Then they got Julius Kessler. Now you see the Kessler is still 72 to 28. So you get 28% straight bourbon in that. I'm sure it's just Jim Beam. But Julius Kessler, that was really good. I should have bought a bigger bottle than that. People kept telling me, that's the one you need to try, the Kessler. I say, oh, well. And then I bought it, and I liked it. And that's the second best-selling American blended whiskey, if I'm not mistaken, Julius Kessler. Okay, I'm going to read the comments, but I think I know which is which. The aroma on this is strong cornbread. Cornbread, you know what cornbread smells like. And some people around here say cone bread, like it's C-O-N-E. I'm gonna get me some cone bread. Where y'all cone bread mix? I want to say cone bread. I feel like advising the people and saying, you know, there is an R in that word, but I don't. Cornbread, cone bread. All right. This one has those similar aromas, but it's lower. And furthermore, I'm detecting sourdough bread. And what did I say so many times? That the old Thompson, I bet you, is using Ancient Age, and Ancient Age is a sour mash whiskey. And to me, the sour mash whiskey has a sourdough bagel taste. And I think that's the distinguishing features here. I remember being in the liquor store once and seeing those giant liquor bottles that are more than anything. Then I felt bad thinking about alcoholics destroying their lives and bodies with them. Well, you see, you're reading it the wrong way, because a lot of those bottles, the purpose of those bottles is like if you're having a Mardi Gras party. Remember, they used to have Mardi Gras, or a Super Bowl party. But now the empire says you can't have get-togethers. But you just want to, you know, you're going to serve a lot of them. And it's not like one person laying on the street in a trench coat drinking it all day. You know, it's made for a big event, see, and you get more for less per ounce. So I wouldn't think about it like that. Everybody, you know, liquor is a neutral object. It's neither good nor bad. It's not a moral consideration. It's the utilization of it that can be good or bad. If you're drinking it in moderation, no problem. If you're an old drunk and you're drinking all day and you're falling downstairs and breaking your foot and all this and acting crazy, you know, yeah, then it becomes a moral problem. But it's not the product that's the moral problem. It's your use of it that's the moral problem, you see. Remember, Jesus turned water into wine. Now, he didn't say go get drunk and act crazy. No, you see, because it's a neutral object. I just drank about every whiskey you can think of. Sometimes I like to try new whiskeys, and I tried almost all of them. You probably got a lot more experience. They're intimidating to look at. Okay, ever had Cham's whiskey before? I'm not sure that you spell it, but that's a rare whiskey. I've not had it by I never heard of Cham's. Actually, I think the majority of alcoholics drink beer. Probably cone bread, right? True alcoholics are beer drinkers. He says, I am what you call a binge drinker. I drink beer or whiskey. I prefer whiskey, but I'll drink a few days in a row and then won't drink for a week or two. Yeah, that sounds like a bad idea to me. It sounds like we would call it problem drinking. You know, if you look at different psychological approaches to this, if you look at the behavioral modification approach, they don't like to use the term alcoholic. No, they don't like it because that indicates a certain approach to treatment. They prefer using the term problem drinker. And so they use rational emotive behavioral therapy to try to solve the problem. Whereas Alcoholics Anonymous uses the victimhood approach, which is not good, in my opinion, either. I agree with the rational emotive behavioral therapists that, or cognitive behavioral, you see, they say, hey, you're not a victim. You did it to yourself. You see, so you created the problem and you can solve the problem. That's what they're saying, not the AA who say, oh, your whole life is ruined. You got to come to these meetings all the time. And you're always one step, got one step in the graveyard. You know, you're staying one step ahead of the devil. And at any moment you can crash and burn. So it's a very, I agree, negative approach, like a apocalyptic approach. And I've talked to people that were in that program, and they seem more miserable now than when they were all drinking. So I would steer clear of that myself. That's my personal opinion. That's an opinion. It's not any kind of advice. Anyway, it's just an opinion, the way I feel about it. Anyway, let's go back to this. That's got to be the Seagrams because it has a juicy, like a savory, juicy, soaked oak taste. It's like, say, you have an oak barrel and it's been saturated with whiskey on the inside. You say, well, that's what it is. And you pick up charred oak and just a savory, I would say savory, across the board whiskey flavor. So, and Seagram 7 Crown has that. It has a very bourbon-like flavor, even though it is not bourbon. It could be made into a bourbon, but it is not bourbon, although it's probably 25% straight bourbon. More than likely, like I said, Old Dickel or Bullet. That, and what they do with these blends is they'll take a straight bourbon that didn't come out quite right, you know, and but when you're blending it with the grain spirits, it'll mask like imperfections. And anyway, they know people that are buying 7 Crown is mixing it 99% of the time. They're not drinking it neat. They at least put ice in it, and they probably doing more than that, mixing it with 7-Up, mixing it with Mellow Yellow, mixing it with Sprite, and so forth. So it wouldn't really matter so much, you see. But if you're doing Dickel 12, you're going to drink it neat. You got your little Glencairn glass, and you say, oh, look at these little characteristics. Or Bullet, you see. So you couldn't have imperfections in that. Same thing with the Glenmore Old Thompson. So that's got to be. About to go walking, y'all. Now you see this one. On its own, it's fine. When you put it in competition against these other lesser lights, it wins, or at least ties. But against 7 Crown, it can't make it. It can't make it. It can't make it because it screams too much grain alcohol. There's a little nut oil, you know, like pecan oil, but it screams that grain alcohol, that raw grain spirit, which is cut with water down to 80 proof. You say, ugh. And that's what I'm saying, ugh. You know. So, there's a reason Old Thompson is $7.99 a liter, all right? And it ain't because the store is trying to do you a favor. And there's a reason that the Seagram 7 Crown will cost you a good $8 more. All right. You're going to get what you pay for. You're going to get a better product because you're going to pay more and it's better made. Now, that's just the cut and dry of it. You can't get around it. I'm going to read the comments and we're going to close it out. You drink till you get sick of it, then go back to it, and then get in the mood for it. Some days I can't drink that much. I only have a few, and then I don't want any more. Well, it's like we say, it's your life. So, you know, drinking is a funny thing. Some days are good, others are bad. Depends on how your body feels on that day. Yeah, I just try to keep things even keel, you know, like the golden mean, so to speak. Julie says, good morning, Ron. Hey, Jules, sounds like rubbing alcohol. Yeah, it has some of those aspects. Like you sipping on it, you think you're at the doctor's office, and you smell that antiseptic smell, you see. But remember, the Seagram 7 Crown draws that out. You see, it draws out the badness, you see. On its own merits, you wouldn't detect it. You see, you don't detect it. But when you drink the Seagram 7 Crown, it brings out those negligible, that's not the right word, those detrimental, those deficits. Or simply those negative aspects. Well, as usual, the 7 Crown wins, running away, going away. I'm not going to say Old Thompson is terrible. It's not terrible unless you put it against 7 Crown or those kind of things. It's all right. It's okay. It even can score in the B range, B minus, you know, arguably good. Raw graininess, right? So, would I recommend Old Thompson? I mean, it depends what you're buying it for. If you're buying it for connoisseur, speculative whiskey tasting, there's no sense to that. Why are you buying that? Why are you paying $7.99 a liter and think you're going to do some kind of exploration? You should be buying Old Fitzgerald for $75 a bottle. something like that. I mean, you know, don't, but I don't have to explain that because most people with any kind of brains know that. You know, they're not going to say, I'm going to enjoy some Italian food today and buy Franco-American or Chef Boyardee. I mean, this is, some things are, like Thomas Jefferson said, some things are self-evident. So this has got to be the Old Thompson. And when I look at the label, it's going to say OT. You say overtime. You've been over 30 minutes, right? Overtime. Old Thompson. Bye-bye, Old Thompson. We won't see you again for many months. And I'm not going to miss it because starting Friday, which I might do Friday today later, we're going to do a Canadian blended whiskey adventure. And I think it's going to be a very exciting one because of the nature of the old bottle that I have. Consider the occasion and the drink to be mixed, I suppose. Exactly. It depends on what context. All right. If it's a wedding, it's like, why are you buying Old Thompson for a wedding? You that cheap? Now, if it's a pool party with no thought to what you're drinking, yeah, fine. You say, oh, it's New Year's Eve, we're making Jell-O shots. Fine. But why are you even paying for Old Thompson? You paid too much because you could get it cheaper. Not much cheaper, but cheaper. Okay, so I mean, you would be looking for the most economical of all. What do you call expensive? Something like what I bought Johnny Walker Blue Label, a $750 bottle. I paid over $240 after tax. That's expensive. Over $240 for a bottle of whiskey. Now that was the most expensive whiskey I ever bought. Did it live up to its price point? Not quite. But on the other hand, any blended scotch I put up against it loses every time. Every time. You think, it's not that special. Fine. But when you put it in competition, it destroys the competition. It's incredible, really, how devastatingly superior it is in the competitions. All right, OT, Old Thompson. Ah ha ha ha! Do not challenge my authority. Well, you say you're no great expert. That's a cheap whiskey, and it can't live up to a not so cheap whiskey, although it is cheap. 7 Crown. I agree. It's not. This is not a reflection of me being a great whiskey taster. It's a reflection of an inferior product not living up to it, not matching up to the challenger. It's like, say, Eastern Michigan is. Let's talk about a normal year. Let's say Eastern Michigan football is 6-3, and you say they're having a good year, 6-3. They might make it to the Manwich Bowl, and they're going to play Alabama. It's a road game. Obviously, they're going to be in Tuscaloosa. They might beat Alabama. Alabama's 10-0, but they ain't that great. And you say, yeah, okay. So then at the end of the first quarter, it's Alabama 13 and Eastern Michigan 10. And you say, look, Eastern had a 98-yard handoff and they ran it for a touchdown. Eastern Michigan's got a chance. It's 13-10. But then people that know better say, no, wait till the fourth quarter. Now, by the fourth quarter, the person that was saying all that is like, they've already gone bike riding because it's 58-10, 58-13, and it can't make it. All right. Johnny Walker made me paranoid. It gave me a weird buzz. I'll never drink again. Johnny Walker never made me paranoid. I drank Johnny Walker, and I mean, yeah, people are out to get me. If I drink it, I know people are out to get me, and I realize that the Cubans are watching me through my computer, but I don't get too paranoid. If you don't touch me, I won't kill you. But yeah, it's fine. In the whiskey world, anything over $40 and I'll pass. Well, it depends on who you are and what you want to buy. It's going to be a fun walk. It is. It's warming up, and then it's going to rain. Heck. Drewski Brewski. Hey there, as everybody's telling each other hello. All right, thanks for watching this taste challenge, so-called. Really wasn't much of a challenge. I knew as soon as I tasted it that it was the 7 Crown, but just goes to show you. It's got a beautiful bottle too. Look at this brown. You want brown. See, most of them use clear glass, but brown protects the whiskey just like with beer. And then it's got that beautiful embossed 7 on the back with the crown. You can feel texture. It's got a fantastic label. It tastes really good. And yeah, you're gonna pay for it, but you're gonna. And when we say you're gonna pay for it, we're not talking about a lot, but relative to these other bottom shelf items. So anyway, thank you for watching this taste challenge. I'll probably be back with the Canadian extravaganza starting today. If not, it wouldn't be any later than tomorrow. And we got a lot of Canadians to do, and it's going to be very exciting. Then I have even more exciting news. Once we're finished with Canadians, we've got Paddy's Irish whiskey, and that's a legendary brand. That is legend. And I've never had Paddy's, and I've heard about it for years. So thanks, everybody. I started drinking about 10 years ago. Before that, I did not drink anything. I started to see what the big fuss was about. I like it, ironically. Have a good day. Yeah, well, you know, I started drinking beer in 1996 because I wanted to see why everybody kept talking about it, you know. And then I didn't, I was actually drinking dessert wine for 2 years before that, 1994, 95, 96. And this lady I used to hang out with, we'll keep it at that, 94, 95, she liked the dessert wines too. She liked them. All right, anyway, happy trails, says Julie. Until we meet again.